Blending rhythm and lead techniques together in a single piece or a single phrase has long been something that guitarists have been trying to solve for, trying to figure out how to do it. This stuff was started by Curtis Mayfield back in the 60s. This guy, Jimi Hendrix, sort of matured it and brought it into the rock genre really successfully. It's really just a mimic of the way piano players work. They can play chords and single lines at the same time. So it's our way as guitarists of expressing that kind of technique. Putting this thought, this idea into practice, however, you run into some questions. There are a lot of rhythm guitar techniques, there are a lot of lead guitar techniques. Depending on what song you're playing or what the chord progression is, there's a lot of harmonic choices to be made. What techniques do I use for rhythm? What techniques do I blend with lead? What notes are available? All of these questions can form a barrier to really sort of getting started or even making progress with this idea. Well, welcome back to the channel. My name's Chris. Today you will learn about blending rhythm and lead techniques together. There's a lot of information out there about this, a lot of solutions, a lot of online courses, a lot of books, a lot of videos. When I learned this, when I was coming to grips on how to do this, we didn't have the internet back then. We rode dinosaurs to school, but what we did rely on was a lot of organic information exchange with other guitar players. What do you do? How is he doing that? How have you figured this out? So what I'm going to show you is my take on this and the ideas and the techniques that I've developed over the years to be able to do this. They've lasted for years, so they're tried and true for me. So I'm going to share those with you. I'm going to explain what I'm doing and the primary techniques I'm using to get this idea deployed. And then I'm going to give you some practical examples as well. All right, let's get started. Okay, let's start blending rhythm and lead parts together. I'm going to go through the piece that I played at the top as a test bed to show you the ideas that I'm using. And we're going to focus on one primary idea. And for the vast majority of the times that I deploy rhythm and lead at the same time, I'm using this one single technique. And that is anytime I find a chord, I overlay the corresponding pentatonic scale. So if you think of the chord back here and the pentatonic scale here, I overlay them. So I've got like a vision of what notes are available, right? And then I deploy rhythm techniques on the chord and regular pentatonic type techniques, which includes dyads or just pentatonic runs with the scale. And I just go back and forth between those two things, and that's it. Now there are some other ideas that I'm going to show you here that I'm going to sort of skip over because they don't use that specific technique. But I needed a little bit of variation, so I threw them in there. But I really want to focus on this idea of blending these two things together. So the first thing we need to know is what key are we in? What is this piece? What are the chords? What's going on? This piece is in the key of E, and there's only 4 chords in the piece. E major, which is the 1 chord in the key of E. C sharp minor, which is the 6th chord in the key. B is the 5 chord in the key of E. And A major is the 4 chord. That's it, just those 4 chords. So those are the sort of building blocks of the progression. Now, I'm just going to show you bit by bit as we go through here. I'm going to mostly focus on this idea of where I overlay the pentatonic and chord shapes together. And I'm not going to focus on the other stuff. I've tabbed all that stuff out. It's on Patreon, and I'll tell you about that at the end of the video. But I really want to get this idea of this overlay together. Okay. The first phrase in this piece goes like this. Now this is just an E note. I'm just suggesting the E chord, and I'm playing this. These are dyads. Dyads are 2 notes played at the same time. These notes are just the notes from the E major pentatonic scale. I've just mapped them on these 2 strings, and I'm just playing dyads. I'm just noticing how there's this great little sort of symmetrical thing going on here. It's very Cornell Dupree guitar player that you should sort of check out. Just pentatonic, right? The next chord is C sharp minor. Now I thought since I had all this movement, I just needed a basic chord played. One long strum, one short strum, that's it. Now, to get to the next chord, I do this phrase. Now I'm over a C sharp minor, and I'm just thinking about the C sharp minor pentatonic scale. And specifically these notes. I'm playing two notes at the same time, so I'm playing dyads and I'm using hammer-ons. Just looking at the chord and the scale. Now the next chord is B. I'm right next door to a B here. And I play this little wacky chord because now I feel like the piece needs a little bit of air in it. This chord is simply B. And then I'm playing the root and the third here on the D, G string. And I'm using the B and the E string open. The reason this chord sounds so beautiful is because while the B is the root, the E, way up there, 3 octaves above, turns out to be that 11. So this is a B add 11. Just using a little dyad there. These are both B chords. The next chord is A, and here's the phrase I use over A. Now this is straight pentatonic over the chord. I mean, it's classic. Here's my A major pentatonic. That little dyadic idea. That's all pentatonic. And again, dyads and hammer-ons. Bending up to that pentatonic note. When I release this, it's no longer in the pentatonic scale, but it does become the third of the E chord. So I'm doing that very intentionally, looking at that, knowing that target note's coming. That's just an arpeggio, a little bit of scale tones going to the C sharp minor. Now, C sharp minor, pentatonic lick coming up here, same exact thing. Here's my C sharp minor, here's the C sharp minor pentatonic scale right here. Just the same idea, just dyads, a little bit of pull-offs. Then to the B chord. Some little A dyadic stuff. No longer the pentatonic, but just something I felt like I needed a little sort of string of beauty there. That's just the major scale. Just the E major scale. Now I repeat the phrase from the top, but now I only use one string. Just because I felt I needed a little bit of a break from the dyads. Same notes, I'm just using pentatonic notes here. Now I come to the C sharp again, C sharp minor. I just use my thumb for the root, and I play this little gymnastic sort of pentatonic thing. Because I felt like I needed a little something. It may look a little flashy, but it's not. It's just the C sharp minor pentatonic scale played in 5-note groupings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now the B chord comes, so I slide down a half step. That's the major third of the B chord. I play that same chord from the top, the B11 there. And then I end the piece with a pretty flashy arpeggio that's an A major 7 arpeggio, ascending 3 octaves, descending, ending on the major third of the E. Here it goes. Throw a little harmonics in there. Now, there's some stuff I didn't explain. I didn't give you any of the fret numbers. I've tabbed all that stuff out. I'll share that with you in a second. The primary idea I want to show you here is that I'm mixing. Anytime I see a chord, I put the pentatonic scale over it, and I see those notes. Those are my available notes. And then I just mix whatever techniques I come across or I feel like are relevant at the time. You saw me play some very just sort of scalular stuff. You saw me play some dyads. Right? It's just that primary idea of pentatonics and scales. Whenever you see a major chord, major pentatonic. Whenever you see a minor chord, minor pentatonic. That's all the information you're going to need. And then just experiment with blending those techniques together. Okay, there it is. That's the way I approach blending rhythm and lead techniques together. Largely looking at that pentatonic overlay over a chord, any chord. Oh, here's a major chord. Take the corresponding pentatonic scale and slap it over there. And now you can see through the two and you see what's available to you. Take any pentatonic scale ideas and techniques that you have and blend them with that chord at the same time, and that's it. There's really, I'm not using much more than that. Clearly in the piece at the top, there are some other things I'm doing that aren't strictly pentatonic. I've tabbed all that out, and that's on Patreon. So if you like the tabs for the whole thing, there are some other ideas there. I go into depth in Patreon, and there's tabs for it there. If you'd like to go grab those, any support over there fuels this whole project for me, so I'm very, very grateful for that. Well, I hope this video has helped give you some new ideas, a couple of fundamental techniques to get you a little bit further down the road of blending rhythm and lead techniques. All right, I'll see you next time.